I'm back with more viewer-submitted styles for you to try with your AI art, or with Midjourney. Simply add these into your prompt as you see on the screen and you get some results similar to what you see. And as always, a massive thank you to everyone who submitted styles for this video. Our first style coming from Mr. Blobstar, which is to try in the style of electron microscope image. And I tried it and got some pretty cool results. Everything has that real microscope sort of feel to it. Looking like it's just zooming in and almost like a little bit of a CG look on some of the images. But most of them, apart from the Hulk here, are pretty much in black and white. So it looks like just like everything's on a almost sort of like microscopic level. I love the way, the detail, the lighting. It just adds an interesting feel to the images that you apply to. Definitely one worth having a play with. The next comment is to try Made for Fortnite. Now this created some really cool 3D cartoony style images in the style of Fortnite. Changed some of the characters slightly as well, as with Goku here. The goggles, the outfit all looks pretty cool. Even the Terminator. It just has that nice kind of smooth 3D cartoony feel to it. And there's a lot of character embedded into each of the subjects I've put in here. I love this one of Optimus Prime, very metallic looking. Also Darth Vader has a pistol for some reason, but the additions and the slight changes to the outfits, I think, just make this something a little bit extra fun to try with your prompts. Now, the final submission is quite lengthy. An email from a man named Paul Leno, I think. I hope I'm not pronouncing that too incorrectly, but a ton of different styles to try. So I thought I'd pick out the best ones and put them into this video. Now, the first is as a type Yokai. Yokai being a type of Japanese supernatural creature. So I've got here the Incredible Hulk as a massive yokai. And I've mixed up a few different things, such as an evil yokai spirit. So added a little bit on the end. Having a play with some of these various different descriptors of what I can use with the yokai got me some pretty interesting images. And a lot of the characters are very much transformed with this phrase. And I really love the way it adds in some of that sort of Japanese style into the images as well. So definitely this one is a lot of fun if you want to get something very transformative and a bit of a remix on the characters you're adding in. So I tried a whole bunch of tests with this one because I absolutely loved it. I love what it's done with the Terminator here. I really just love what it does with pretty much every character I've thrown at it. It does something fun. Even if it doesn't transform the character too much, the image usually comes out looking pretty good. And even the futuristic car added a lot of personality to these cars, quite often adding things like faces or adding some kind of personality element into the car. Definitely had a really great impact, and I really love the mouth and the eyes on this one. I think we've all, as kids, seen cars and thought about the whole mouth and eyes, but this one, I love the fact that it added a monster of similar color behind the car, which is a nice touch, but also in a dynamic pose. Adding the type of pose you want in there. So I have the Incredible Hulk in a dynamic romantic pose, who's kind of like dancing in a very romantic way. Also in a dynamic action pose, so like jumping or leaping into action. Also a dynamic casual pose. Tends to add very casual clothing to people, which I thought was funny. But we also have the Terminator in a romantic pose. He's dancing and he's got that soft light. And then of course we have the action pose where he's leaping into action, about to fire off and terminate his target. But then we switch to Darth Vader. He's got a Star Wars shirt on, some casual clothes with the casual pose, and of course the anxious pose. He's kind of like putting his hand out to stop something. But we can't go without the romantic pose. Love hearts, dancing, trying to impress Padme, big time. Now we have Goes on a Rampage, and this actually did a lot better than I thought it would. Now with the Hulk, he is literally just rampaging. That's pretty much all he does. But the rest of the images adds a real sense of, there's like always a bit of red in there, really high, intense energy, and a little bit stylized in the way it presents the rampage of each character. So I thought this was a really fun one and actually performed a lot better than I was expecting. So give that one a try if you like what you see here. But as a part of an animatronic band, this one is really cool. Adds a small, almost plastic feel to it, along with the instruments. The Hulk here looks like a little Hulk figure. The woman's face just kind of looks like a toy of a woman's face. And of course, Batman, little Batman toy's got a guitar and a drum set in front of it. So this is a fun one for creating that really tiny little animatronic style. Definitely have a play with that one if you like that one as well. Hitting the jackpot, this one is just a bit of fun. Kind of has everyone, I guess, having a bunch of money and cash around them, like they've won some kind of jackpot, obviously. And the coins dropping in front of the woman's face. She even has a bit of a gold sort of tint in the reflection of her skin. Batman, he's hit the pokies. He's won a heap of money as well. And of course, we have Darth Vader. Again, gambling, hitting the pokies, getting a nice win. Now we have Possessed by an Eldritch Horror. Adds a lot of tentacles, a nice horror, creepy, scary vibe. The Hulk here, he's like almost possessed by the tentacles. They're all forming around him. Same with the woman's face. There's like a face around her chin, and I think that looks really creepy, but also cool. Batman fighting off the tentacles, fighting a good fight as he normally does. And of course, Darth Vader, tentacles coming up behind him. Just a really fun phrase to work with. But also we have stars in the remake of movie. So what it does is it kind of puts that person into a movie. So we have the Incredible Hulk, stars in the remake of Star Wars. So he's kind of in there with a Luke Skywalker type figure. And of course, the Wizard of Oz, he is obviously one of the people she meets along her journey, but he's Bruce Lee in the remake of Enter the Dragon, which I thought was really cool. But Batman has been put into the Avengers. I love the way in the middle, he's kind of somewhere in between the two. Also, in the remake of Casablanca, he's got that old-fashioned sort of jacket on, and the Wizard of Oz, he is walking along the road. Love that little rainbow up in the sky. But moving on, we have Clockwork music box. So remove the comma from this one. And the Incredible Hulk, we have a little Incredible Hulk Clockwork music box and also a woman's face music box. It just does a really good job of basically creating like an old-fashioned music box and adding a character on top of it in most instances. So just a bit of fun with that one. Also, inugami, which is kind of like a canine spirit or dog god, as what Google has just told me. But the Incredible Hulk, it has that transformation where it adds in that Japanese style. It doesn't always nail the actual inugami, but Batman has placed him with a dog. But otherwise, it just tries to transform things a little bit. It doesn't have the full effect, but sometimes you get something cool, like this one of Darth Vader here, where he transforms into a bit of a dog. But also Japanese folding screen. This is just a really nice, cool, simple idea that works quite well. Just printing our characters onto sort of like these privacy type screens that you would see up. Has an old-fashioned feel to it, and it just looks pretty cool. I like the way it actually makes it look very 3D and very photorealistic while having a cool Japanese art style applied to the screen itself. So very happy with that one as well. But now we're going to move on, and we have painted on an ancient Greek vase. Again, very descriptive. You get a pretty direct idea of what to expect here. The vase is usually old, cracked, and sometimes you get just the painting itself, but I tried to pick the majority of the images were actually the vases with the painting on them, so I tried to pick those. I love the way the Darth Vader one is shaped like his helmet. I thought that was pretty cool. But we also have Whacker Name Vintage Game. So this is where you apply a name such as Whacker Hulk Vintage Game, and people can kind of whack the buttons. I also did a Whacker Batman Vintage Game, and it gets pretty repetitive, so I didn't do a ton of these. You get Whacker Superman. So it all looks, it's pretty consistent, gets a pretty good result. But also we have board game looking down, or the board game looking down. So if there was a Hulk game, this is basically what the AI thinks it would look like. So of course I also did the woman's face, and it actually is looking down on the board, and her face is printed onto the board. But otherwise, most of them came out 3D like this. It's like a little figure standing on top of a board game, and you're looking down on that figure. So that's a nice fun one to play with as well. So check that one out. Otherwise, we have bad origami. Now, some of this looks bad. Some of it just looks like decent origami. You got the nice paper origami shape, a little bit crinkled in a lot of instances, but I mean, it's an impressive effect. It looks photorealistic in pretty much all the images I tried, but a nice artistic minimalist sort of effect as well. So like a low poly in real life folded with paper look. Obviously, you know what origami is. Basically, that's what it is. But being chased in a nightmare. Another cool, creepy vibe style to try. And Hulk is being chased by like some green energy here, and the woman's face, she just like looks like she's trapped in a nightmare. The reflection, something about that's just a little bit creepy. Batman being chased by bats. It's actually very fitting if you consider his origins. And also Darth Vader. I love the hands. He looks like he's really running like a bit of a princess there, and escaping from a pretentious art house's film. So generally, there's people escaping from houses, and it has a very pretentious sort of like upper class feel to some of the images as well. Like the woman, she's not really escaping here. But Batman, he's got a door there. There's no steps. He just looks like he's going into the house. And this one I didn't find as consistent, but I just thought the images were fun, so I thought I'd share them here. But scroll work worked really, really well. You can see what a scroll looks like here. And the way it designs our characters into scroll-like art does it really effectively and does a pretty good job, especially if it's something a little more generic like the woman's face. But otherwise, it does do a good job across the board, creating these cool patterns, trying to stick with some of the colors and the feel. I thought looked really good as a real material style. Also, opalescent glass sculpture. So you get that cool opal, almost iridescent reflection onto all the sculptures. This one, again, very consistent, very nice look to all the images. I thought that this is just a cool, consistent style if you're looking to create a kind of like a fancy statue look with a really cool sort of expensive looking material. So the other one, moving on, we have Decadent Elegance. So this is kind of like that everyone living in a very decadent, overly elegant area. So Hulk, he's just sitting there surrounded by all this super expensive furniture, and the woman, she's wearing a lot of decadent sort of, she's like a piece of art, but surrounded by decorative jewelry. Batman, I don't know why he's wearing pink, but that is definitely what I would call decadent. And also Darth Vader got his tea set out, ready to have a party with some of his generals. But a pop-up greeting card style. Again, getting more with that live action sort of like photographic style, popping up out of a book. I love the little sort of the separate pieces of card that pop up in some of these, and it does a great job, again, making them look photographic with that texture and the shadow work. Just a really cool image, and just to be honest, it looks like a photo in a lot of cases, so yeah, it turned out pretty good. But in the style of punk rock, this transforms your characters into kind of like punk rockers. I love the way Hulk has Hulk on his shirt there. But I love this real like almost photocopy style of the woman's face. But otherwise, we've got Batman looking very punky with the cape and the different helmet. The jacket, I should say. Darth Vader. I really love this one. This one's my favorite one of all of them. But also we have vintage 1700s theatre playbill advertising character and his character. Now, most of these stage and movie styles, you're best using 16:9. I've stuck with square so I can pop the prompt on screen, but you can see how we get a vintage playbill style here. You can see from the prompt we mix up certain characters. I love the vintage style more than anything. I think it is actually a pretty good style in itself. But starring in a Chinese historical opera. Again, no comma here. We're going straight in. So the Incredible Hulk starring in a Chinese historical opera. He looks very upset. And of course, the woman's face, I love that. Looks like a photo, like an actual publicity still from a show. Batman, again, very, very fancily dressed. And I love Darth Vader here. It looks like he's dressed almost a little bit like Padme in episode 1. But we also have as a Kabuki actor. Again, no comma. This tends to add a lot of makeup to the faces of your characters. Hulk has a minimal amount of makeup here. And the woman's face, we get more of that makeup style. It's very similar to what we just saw in the last style, but I love what it did with Batman here. But the best is definitely Darth Vader, who has the white mask here and a very Shogun style helmet. I thought was a really cool style. As a Baroque Opera version of movie or story. So switching out the end, I have the Incredible Hulk Baroque Opera version of reality television here. Also, Baroque Opera version of basketball. They dress fancy, but he's holding that basketball. Star Wars, it just adds a sword instead of a lightsaber. And then I decided to switch to the Terminator, and much the same, like a little skull on the shoulder there. It was a nice touch. But overall, it just kind of adds a little bit of fun to that Baroque, very fancy fashion style whenever you add this phrase to your prompts. But we're not quite done with that yet, because we have Trapped in Baroque Opera. Very similar style, but you get a little bit different style of framing. Very close up on the Hulk's face here. This woman's face looks really, really cool. I absolutely love the effect it's had with this face. Also Batman, I don't know what those little frilly decorations are around the neck, but I always think they look funny on superheroes, especially Darth Vader, who's supposed to be this big, evil, scary character. But we also have Doomed to Spend an Eternity in a director studio genre movie. So the Incredible Hulk, Doomed to Spend an Eternity in a My Little Pony movie, I thought was a really cool mix. And Darth Vader in that same movie, he is a pony, which I thought was kind of funny. And the Terminator, he's protecting the pony from the T-1000. But we're going to move on to a Wes Craven movie. It has a nice, scary, high contrast feel. Darth Vader holding the skull looks pretty cool. But on top of that, we also have things like a Pixar movie. I don't know why there's tentacles here with Darth Vader, but again, I just thought it looked nice. Also moving on to an Akira Kurosawa movie. So this style, I love the samurai style. I love how this image turned out with Goku. It looks like a movie poster. And just the effect it has, very serious, often adding that samurai style. Really cool, especially the Terminator here. Hasn't added any samurai style, but just has that high contrast feel. Then we also have Goku in a James Cameron movie. So that was also a pretty fun image as well. But playing make-believe in a kid's awesome imagination cardboard box. So not only does it pop our characters into a box, it tends to turn them into kids as well. The Hulk looks like a kid dressed up as the Hulk. We just got for the woman's face, just like a girl inside of a cardboard box. A little bat kid there, looking like a little mischievous little person playing in a box. And of course, Darth Vader. This kid looks really cool. Got the sunnies to make up for it. Very cool. But also in a something soapbox derby race, no comma. So adding in, instead of something, I have Little Rascals soapbox derby race. So I decided to do that with the Hulk, and then moved on to a post-apocalypse soapbox race, and of course onto a silly cartoon soapbox race. So you can see how we get these different styles with the images. We've got a steampunk soapbox derby race, and using pretty much those same styles, I tried out Darth Vader. So again, we got Little Rascals. Looks like a little kid with a Darth Vader helmet, and we've got like the apocalypse, post-apocalypse sort of race, looking very apocalyptic. Silly cartoon, looks like a silly sort of comic book cartoon. And then, of course, steampunk. I love the fact that he's wearing the hat and goggles here. He looks like an earnest, trying hard inventor or something like that. But made out of leftovers. I thought this one is really cool. Kind of makes the characters up, or the subject up, out of like old food, which is just a really nice, cool, artistic visual style. This one is definitely one that I hadn't seen before. It's almost like fruit sculpture, but has a little bit more of a messy feel to it. Definitely just a really cool art style. I would have a go at that and let me know what you think in the comments below. But this one, a bit more of an action style, crowdsurfing at a genre or artist concert. So switching out genre or artist, I have here the Incredible Hulk crowdsurfing at a heavy metal concert. And I thought I'd switch it up with a classical music concert. Looks like he's almost conducting the concert. We did the same thing again with Darth Vader, heavy metal concert, devil horns, up in the air, but then we switched it up to the classical music again. But I decided to try a few other different things here. So we got here Batman, again with a heavy metal concert. But the one thing I tried that was different was a Wiggles concert. Just it didn't really make too much of a difference, but you can kind of see the style. But we have diving into chaos. Often has people diving into water, sometimes almost diving into like a void of some sort, kind of diving into chaos. Everything looks chaotic in the water. I love that the woman's face has nothing to do with it. Just is a really cool artistic visual image. But Batman looks like he's diving into something, like I said, a bit of a void, but a chaotic void, whereas Darth Vader is kind of underwater. So that one's a bit more of an action shot, a bit hard to pick what you're going to get, but struggling with an abstract concept. Now this adds in the kind of brain foggy look by adding elements coming out of the head a lot of the time. With the woman's face, it just kind of added some abstract elements, but most of the time we get some kind of thinking pose and some kind of like abstract cloud or bubble or something coming from the character. So just a really cool style if you're looking for something to demonstrate that feeling. But surrendering to the type absurdity of the situation. So I have here an urgent, surrendering to the urgent absurdity of a situation. The Hulk looks like he's panicked, or the silly absurdity. So things looking a little bit more sillier with the Hulk, or in this case, surreal. So we've got more of a surreal sort of situation here. I switched to Batman, and again, we get urgent, and I don't see how urgent it is, but I love the old-fashioned style it's added to this image. And we've got freaky, added a freaky sort of image there. So I tried silly again, and I don't understand what's so silly about this one, but he definitely looks like he is surrendering. We have having too much fun at a type party. So here we have the Incredible Hulk again at a Tupperware party, having a little too much fun. Doesn't look like it, but apparently he is. And of course, a birthday party. He is celebrating. The balloons are out. Everyone's got the food in front of them, and now we have a royal party. So he's dancing with royalty in a very expensive looking party. But finally, political party. Looks like he's rallying for voters, but getting a little bit angry. And then we have the same with Batman, where he is at the Tupperware party, checking out the Tupperware, having fun. He looks very happy at the birthday party. Batman was a little bit more expressive than Hulk in these ones. The royal party looks like he's having a great time, but again, looks like rallying for voters at the political party. So you can see how this phrase works, but a lot of fun. And we have on a wild and crazy road trip with another character. So the Hulk, I have him with the Addams family here on a road trip. So it just kind of blends them into the car, a bit of an action shot. With the Muppet, I thought this one was kind of weird looking. And then, of course, My Little Pony has come back and they're on a road trip together. So I did the same sort of thing with Batman again. We've got the Addams family. I love the way it went black and white and has more of a stylized look. But also he hangs out with Darth Vader, but he won't let him into the car. So didn't really work on that one. But otherwise, we have trapped inside a giant pinball machine. So this tends to design the characters into the pinball machine in a lot of instances, but also looks like it's trapped them in there. For example, the woman looks like she's trapped inside the machine in almost like a 2001 Space Odyssey looking shot. Batman, he is trapped inside of the machine. But when we cut back to Darth Vader, it is a Darth Vader designed machine. So just you get a blend of those two different effects. Antiquing. So we have, not only do sometimes the characters either look like antiques, like the Hulk here, looks like an antique statue within an antique shop. Same with the woman's face, looks like an actual antique. When we switch to Batman, he could pass as someone looking at antiques, but he could also pass for a statue. Whereas Darth Vader, he actually is looking at antiques. He's out antiquing, having a lot of fun. But those are the styles for today, guys. And once again, I want to thank everyone who submitted, especially that massive email. Some really fun images out of that one. But otherwise, if you found this video interesting, please consider giving it a like. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon and have a great day.